Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Samsthapakacharya Savior the whole world Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction. Text number 41. Swapne yatha pashyati deham idrusham. Swapne yatha pashyati deham idrusham. Manorathena abhinivishta cetanaha. Manorathena abhinivishta cetanaha. Drishta tutabhyam manasa anuchintayan. Drishtashrutabhyam manasanuchintayan. Prapadyate tat kim api hi apasmritihi. Prapadyate tat kim api hyapasmritihi. Swapne yatha pashyati dehamidrisham. Manorathena abhinivishta cetanaha. Drishtashrutabhyam manasanuchintayan. Prapadyate tat kimapi hyapasmritihi. Swapne yatha pashyati dehamidrisham. Manonimitunaabhinivishta cetanaha. Drishtashrutabhyam manasanuchintayan. Prapadyate tat kimapi hyapasmritihi. Swapne yatha dapsyati dehamidrisham. Manorathena abhinivishta cetanaha. Drishtashrutabhyam manasanuchintayan. Prapadyate tat kimapi hyapasmritihi. Swapne yatha pashyati dehamidrisham. Manorathena abhinivishta cetanaha. Drishtashrutabhyam manasanuchintayan. Prapadyate tat kimapi hyapasmritihi. Swapne, in a dream, yatha, as, pashyati, one sees, deham, the kind of body, idrisham, similarly, Manorathena, by mental speculation, abhinivishta, is fully absorbed. Chetanaha, he whose consciousness. Drishta, by whatever has been experienced, by seeing with the eyes. Shrutabhyam, and by hearing a description of something else. Manasa, by the mind. Anuchintayan, thinking, feeling and willing. Prapadyate, surrenders. Tat, to that situation. Kim api, what to speak of. He, indeed. Apasmritihi, experiencing forgetfulness of the present body. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation, and thus one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances in different bodies and forgets his actual position. Under this same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Please repeat this translation after me. Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation, and thus one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances in different bodies and forgets his actual position. Under this same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Transmigration of the soul is very clearly explained in this verse. One sometimes forgets his present body and thinks of his childhood body, a body of the past, and of how one was playing, jumping, talking, and so on. When the material body is no longer workable, it becomes dust. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. But when the body again mixes with the five material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the mind continues to work. The mind is a subtle substance in which the body is created, as we actually experience in our dreams and also when we are awake in contemplation. One must understand that the process of mental speculation develops a new type of body that does not actually exist. If one can understand the nature of the mind, manorathena, and its thinking, feeling, and willing, one can very easily understand how from the mind different types of bodies develop. The Krishna consciousness movement therefore offers a process of transcendental activities wherein the mind is fully absorbed in affairs pertaining to Krishna. The presence of the soul is perceived by consciousness, and one must purify his consciousness from material to spiritual, or in other words, to Krishna consciousness. That which is spiritual is eternal, and that which is material is temporary. Without Krishna consciousness, one's consciousness is always absorbed in temporary things. For everyone, therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita 9.34, Manmana bhavamadbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. One should always be absorbed in thought of Krishna. One should become his devotee. One should always engage in his service and worship him as the supreme great. And one should always offer him obeisances. In the material world, one is always a servant of a greater person. And in the spiritual world, our constitutional position is to serve the Supreme, the greatest, Param Brahma. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 20th chapter, verse number 108. To act in Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life and the highest perfection of yoga. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The condition of the mind which flickers between sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting something and rejecting it, is very important in transferring the soul to another material body at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejatyante kalevaram tam tame vaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Therefore, one must train the mind in the system of Bhakti Yoga, as did Maharaj Ambarisha, who kept himself always in Krishna consciousness. Samai mana Krishna padar vindayo. One must fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If the mind is fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet, the activities of the other senses will be engaged in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. To serve Rishikesha, the master of the senses, with purified senses is called Bhakti. Those who constantly engage in devotional service are situated in a transcendental state above the material modes of nature. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One must learn the secret of success from the Vedic literatures, especially when the cream of Vedic knowledge is presented by Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because the mind is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the word apasmritihi is significant. Forgetfulness of one's own identity is called apasmritihi. This apasmritihi can be controlled by the Supreme Lord. For the Lord says, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real position, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death, even though the mind may be flickering. Although the mind may work imperfectly at the time of death, Krishna gives a devotee shelter at his lotus feet. Therefore, when a devotee gives up his body, the mind does not take him to another material body. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. Rather, Krishna takes the devotee to that place where he is engaged in his pastimes, mameti, as we have already discussed in previous verses. One's consciousness, therefore, must always be absorbed in Krishna, and then one's life will be successful. Otherwise, the mind will carry the soul to another material body. The soul will be placed in the semen of a father and discharged into the womb of a mother. The semen and ovum create a particular type of body according to the form of the father and mother. And when the body is mature, the soul emerges in that body and begins a new life. This is the process of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Unfortunately, those who are less intelligent think that when the body disappears, everything is finished. The entire world is being misled by such fools and rascals. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul does not die when the body is destroyed. Rather, the soul takes on another body. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. These are words spoken by Vasudeva. He is speaking to Kamsa. And this situation is a very critical situation. Devaki's life is in danger. Kamsa heard one prophecy and immediately he took out his sword, grabbed Devaki's hair and was about to kill her, cut off her head, the sword. And who is Devaki? Devaki is his own sister, whom just before the prophecy, with so much affection, Kamsa was driving the chariot on which she was returning with her newly wedded husband Vasudeva to Vasudeva's house, palace. So, Vasudeva, being very, very sober, very controlled in his mind, very quickly he began to think how to save Devaki's life. So, in the beginning, he thought that let me appeal to Kamsa's intelligence. Because Kamsa is a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means a qualified Kshatriya, especially intelligent person. Among the four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the first two Varnas, people belonging to the first two Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriyas, are intelligent. And the people belonging to the last two Varnas, Vaishyas and Shudras, are not so intelligent. So accordingly, the material occupation is divided. So Brahmanas and Kshatriyas do the intelligent kind of occupation. very big responsibility is there for the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. And because they have the necessary intelligence, they can perform the activities of a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. So Vasudeva decided to appeal to Krishna, Kamsa's intelligence, and he began to explain to Kamsa, why are you fearing some future happening, which is death due to Devaki's 8th child? Sometime in the future, Devaki's 8th child will be the cause of Kamsa's death. And for that, immediately Kamsa is trying to save himself by killing Devaki. Now, this is totally shocking and totally foolish on Kamsa's part to behave this way, to act in this way. So in a very sober way, Vasudeva is trying to tell him a little philosophy, because the intelligence can respond to philosophy. The mind can respond to emotions, and the body will only respond to some physical action. Because Kamsa is very powerful, so bodily nothing can be done by Vasudeva immediately to save Devaki. But mind and intelligence, something he may try. So first of all, he tries to appeal to Kamsa's intelligence. So he has begun explaining to Kamsa that the fact is, one who has taken birth is sure to die, and death may come any time. As long as one is destined to live in a particular body, one is going to live in that body. And when death comes, nobody can save oneself by any means. Death is sure, death is certain. Then why are you afraid of death? Especially when it is being foretold that in the future you're going to die by some cause or by some means. So why are you so much afraid of some future event, and you are ready to work, or rather act very, very sinfully? You're ready to kill your own sister for no fault of hers. And he begins to explain that ultimately what is death? Death is change of body. This is the fundamental teaching of all our Vedic scriptures, and especially the Bhagavad Gita, which is the cream of all Vedic wisdom, that we are not the body, we are spirit soul. And at the time of death, what really happens is that we change the body. The change of body is happening even before death comes. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara. Just as in this body we are experiencing a change of body from childhood to youth to old age. Tatha, similarly, at the time of death, dehantara praptihi. Dehantara. At the time of death, there is another change of body. Dhirastatra na muhyati. One who's a dhira, one who's a sober person, one who's an intelligent person, conscientious person, one who's a self-realized soul, is not bewildered by such a change, is not afraid or completely confused about the change of body at death. Now, there is a certain difficulty for people in general to accept that even death is a change of body. Why? Because the change of body that is happening from childhood to youth to old age, the new body is present for everyone to see, and it resembles the old body. So, in effect, even though the body is entirely different, the childhood body is entirely different, the body we get at the time of the youthful stage of our life is different, the body at old age is also different. But we are cheated to believe that I am in the same body. It is just that the body has grown up. That's what we think. Why do we think like that? Because the fundamental misconception is I am the body. If I am the body, and this body, even though it is changing, I don't think it is changing in such a way that it is entirely different. But at death, what happens is similar change, but the new body is entirely different. It's totally different. Besides that, the new body is immediately not visible. It cannot be seen. This is all explained in the Bhagavad Gita very nicely by Krishna. First of all, the soul leaving the body, the soul itself we cannot see. Even presently, each one of us, a spirit soul, we are seated in this body. But we cannot see ourself, real self as spirit soul. We cannot see because we are spiritually blind. Ajnana timirandhasya. We are blind not because we don't have eyes. We are blind because we don't have knowledge. There are two kinds of blindness. One blindness is due to ignorance, and another blindness is due to lack of the instrument of seeing itself. So, just like when there is light, we can see with these eyes. But if it is dark, we cannot see with these eyes. Similarly, we should also understand, if we have proper knowledge, then we can see properly with these eyes. And if we are in ignorance, we cannot see with these eyes. In other words, we are seeing ourselves as well as other persons, but because we are in ignorance. I am the body. I think I am the body. I think you are your body. Therefore, we are seeing the body and we are wrongly thinking we are seeing the person. We are not seeing the person. We are seeing the person's external dress. External dress. Just like somebody who is not yet developed intelligence, a small child begins to recognize things first by external appearance only. External appearance only. So, the child doesn't recognize the mother by anything other than the mother's external appearance. So, very beginning, the child requires the mother to be always in front of its sight. Even if the mother is right there but not visible to the child, immediately the child begins to cry for the mother. Mothers have experience of this. So that is because the child can only identify the mother by sight. But a little development of the intelligence, the child will begin to recognize the mother also by her words, by her sound, by her speech. So sometimes when the mother is little away from the child, even if the mother calls out to the child, if the child starts crying, immediately the child will stop crying. Because the child is able to identify the mother by the sound, by her specific sound. In fact, this identifying by sight, by sound, by the senses is so well developed as we grow up that a different phenomena happens because of this kind of development, that we accept dreams as real. What happens in dream? That is what Prabhupada explains in this purport a little elaborately. Whatever we have experienced with our senses during the day, we have developed some impressions in our mind. At night, the senses are actually resting. They are not active. These external senses, the five senses. So when these senses are resting, the mind is active. The mind is not resting. So the active mind, in association with the impressions formed during the daytime interaction with different sights, different sounds, different smell, etc., all the five senses. And the mind is also active in the day, contemplating, speculating, imagining, thinking, feeling, willing. Mind is active. But the difference is, in the daytime, the mind is active in association with the five senses. And at night, the mind is active in association only with the impressions and the thoughts, the speculation. So the mind at night creates a dream world which does not exist. The dream world does not exist. But a dream world is created by the mind and the spirit soul. Anyway, the soul is I or you. The real person is different from the body, different from the mind. So we, in the daytime, we are in association with the mind. We have created a world made up of the objects which are perceived through these five senses, material objects. So our world in the daytime is the world of material objects which we perceive through these five senses, and the impressions of which we have stored in our mind also. But at night,
there is no perception through these five senses. So the entire actual world of objects is there, but it is cut off for us. We are lying on the bed, but we are not even aware of the bed when we go to sleep. We are lying down in this body, but we are not conscious of this body. We are not aware of this body. We are not thinking of this body. So at night, the mind creates another world of subtle objects. These subtle objects are all creations in the mind itself. The creation in the mind. And this creation is made possible by our ability to speculate. Speculate means, I can roughly say it's something like imagining. Imagining. And how do we imagine? Based on our desires, based on our impressions, based on our past experiences of which we have memory, etc. So we create an entire another world, subtle world, a dream world, and we are active in that dream world. And we are so active that we don't think it is another world or a different world. We think it's our world, the same world of which we had experience when we are awake. And then whatever happens in the dream, it does affect us to the extent we identify that dream world as real. To that extent, we actually become affected. But this dream world does not last very long. It actually lasts for very short time. It lasts for a very short time. And that short time in our mind, by our imagination or speculation, is expanded to make us believe we are having an experience of one day or 1 month or 1 year or even 100 or 1,000 or million years even. Because it is simply imagination. Just like even when you are awake, if somebody is lost in some thought and contemplation, they can become completely cut off from the external world, the world they are actually present, and go into another daydream. They can go into a daydream and imagine so many things. Oh, if I can earn a lot of money, then what will I do with that money? Let me think. Now I don't have a nice car. I'll buy a better car. Then after I buy a better car, then I can go long distance with that car. Now I'm not going long distance because this car is not so good, not so reliable. So I'll go even from, not only from Mysore to Bangalore, I'll go from Mysore to Bombay. And then from Bombay, I can do so many more things in Bombay which I cannot do in Bangalore. And then what will I do in Bombay? What I cannot do, what I could not have done in Mysore or Bangalore. So like that, one can get completely lost and actually go into a different time frame. The time frame that one has created in one's mind. This is called daydreaming. Exactly like daydreaming is night dreaming. No different at all. It is simply a creation of our own fertile brain or our mind. Now, we should also understand, just like we have experience of dream at night, and when we wake up, we understand it is just a dream. It has got no relevance to our wakeful state. Similarly, we are spiritually dreaming in our material condition. We are spiritually dreaming. We are not spiritually awake in our present material condition because we have forgotten our real identity as spirit soul. Just like night dream, we forget our identity as this body of which we are conscious, aware during the daytime when we are awake. Exactly like that, even in our daytime, as regards our spiritual life or spiritual existence as spirit soul, we are apasmrutihi, we have forgotten, we are spirit soul, and in that forgetfulness, we have created a false identity, I am this body. Now, when it is said that you are not the body, you are spirit soul, it does not mean this body does not exist. Some philosophers, they think this philosophy that I am spirit soul means the body does not exist. You are thinking there is a body. No, the body exists. The body is real. The body exists. It is just that, it's just like, you know you are not the dress you are wearing. But does it mean the dress doesn't exist? The dress exists. But you are not foolish or not misidentifying the dress as yourself. Similarly, self-realization or coming to spiritual life means understanding the body exists, but I am not the body. The body is a covering for me. It's a covering for me. It is my external dress. Me means spirit soul. I as spirit soul. For me as spirit soul, this is the external dress. That's exactly what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grannati naroparani tatha sharirani. Something like that. So just like when this body is, when the dress you are wearing gets worn out and becomes completely unusable, you discard that garment or cloth and take a new cloth. Exactly like that, when this body becomes old and worn out, you discard this body and accept a new body. But how do we accept a new body? That is also explained in this short verse spoken by Vasudeva, which is elaborated by Prabhupada. I don't have time to explain that now. Maybe in some other class I will explain that. But we should understand that there is a whole process and it depends on how we train our mind before death comes. Exactly according to the state of our mind, we will get another body at the time of death. So at the time of death, if my mind or mentality I have developed is a dog's mentality, I will get a dog's body in my next life. Dog mentality means what? The desires of enjoying like a dog. That is the meaning of dog's mentality. Or attachment to another dog. All this is in the mind. Where is attachment? Attachment is in the mind. The desire to enjoy like a dog or a cat or an American or a devata. That desire to enjoy is in the mind. So, we have to train the mind if at all we want a particular type of body in our next life. So we have choice. As human beings, we have choice what type of body you want. So scriptures say, first of all, any material body, however nice it may be, is subject to death, is subject to disease, is subject to old age. So don't enter another material body after you quit this body. At death, Don't enter a material body. That Krishna says is possible if you become a devotee. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi. You'll go back to Krishna. Or tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. A devotee, after quitting this body, means at the time of death, will not get another material body, but will go to Krishna. Going to Krishna means will go in the original spiritual body. That is the destination of the devotee, a definite, perfect, best destination. Whereas for non-devotees, they are not going to go to Krishna, but they are going to get another material body. And that material body can be from any of 84 lakh different species of life in this material world. And which body among those 84 lakh species one will get depends on how one has trained one's mind. If there has been no special endeavor to train the mind, then simply based on our activities, we have developed certain attachments, certain types of desires to enjoy, and exactly according to our attachment and our desire to enjoy and the nature of our activities, we are going to get another material body, the next material body. So sinful people, they're not going to get a human body for sinful people. They're going to get a lower life form, body of a dog, a cat, a worm, an insect, a fish, a frog, a plant, a germ, of the 80 lakh species, lower species other than human species. Those who are pious people, if their pious activities are simply meant to get better material enjoyment, then they are going to get, due to their pious activities, another human form of body. But if they have a spiritual understanding of life and they desire to actually elevate themselves spiritually, then they are going to get the next body in which they continue their devotional service or their devotional pious activities to elevate themselves further till they achieve perfection of going back to Krishna. So Prabhupada says the Krishna consciousness movement teaches you can guarantee yourself that you're not going to get another material body, which means you're never going to suffer again any material miseries, provided you do 4 things, Krishna says specifically. Manmana, think of me always. What does it mean? To think of Krishna always means to always chant Hare Krishna and thereby become Krishna conscious. Bhavamad Bhakto, become Krishna's devotee, means you identify yourself as belonging to Krishna, which is the real fact about us as spirit soul. As spirit soul, we all belong to Krishna. But as body, we have other identities or other association or other belongings. Material body, you can say, belongs to India, belongs to this family, belongs to some particular community, whatever. But as spirit soul, we don't belong to any of these. We belong to Krishna. So, identifying ourselves as belonging to Krishna, and how does that identification happen? When you engage in devotional activities, activities connected with Krishna. Activities connected with Krishna. So all the activities, how we can mold our life, that all our activities we can do in connection with Krishna, in relationship with Krishna, is called activities of bhakti. And for beginners, Srila Rupa Goswami, the Acharya who teaches us how to practice bhakti, he says for beginners, there are 64 different activities recommended for every beginner. It's called sadhana bhakti, practicing bhakti yoga, of which the very first activity is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All the other activities are whatever you're doing when you come to the temple, or what you have learned here, you do at home. All those activities are the other activities. But these 64 activities specifically cover all the activities we perform with all the other senses, all our senses, and the activities we perform with our mind, activities we perform with our intelligence. So all the activities of the body, of the mind, body means senses, of the mind, of the intelligence, those activities are covered in that list of 64 different recommendations. So that always we are engaged in activities connected with Krishna. Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji, specifically, we should worship Krishna. In addition to chanting Hare Krishna, we should also worship Krishna. Worshipping Krishna has got a broader understanding than just a ritual of offering some lamp or arati to some picture or deity. More than that, it is whom we respect and regard as worshipable, as our ultimate object of adoration, respect. That is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the topmost worshipable personality, topmost respectable personality, most respectable, most adorable. He is the greatest. So that supreme great Krishna. So we have to worship Krishna to get that sense of understanding he is the supreme. Worship Krishna. Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru, and we should bow down to Krishna. Bowing down to Krishna is accepting a subordinate position to Krishna. Everybody is subordinate to Krishna. Though in our ordinary life, material life, we always have somebody who is subordinate to us, but we always will also have somebody who is superior to us. Except Krishna, everybody else has somebody subordinate or superior to them. Only Krishna, being the supreme, he has nobody who is equal to him, nobody who is greater than him. Everybody else is subordinate to Krishna. Therefore, Mam Namaskuru, Krishna tells everyone, you bow down to me. You may or may not bow down to somebody else, but you have to bow down to Krishna. Whoever the person may be, however great the person may be. So, if these four things are done, then Krishna says, guaranteed, Tyaktva deham punarjanmanaiti mamit. Then you don't take birth again in another material body. You don't have to suffer anymore in this material world, but you go to Krishna in your original spiritual body. And that is elaborately explained in the process of transmigration of souls. So I'll stop here. Prantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Some announcements. We are celebrating Vaikuntha Ekadashi on 23rd December.